Good morning everybody, thanks for joining me again. I'm at Corndon Tor on Dartmoor today. Hopefully I pronounced it correctly. Just missed the sunrise, but that wasn't my main goal today. I wanted to be here to see the sun come up, but really it's the rocks behind me that interest me and some of the archaeology around here. Now the sun's come up over that hay tor, massive over the back there, shining on the side of these tors. Now I was hoping for a little bit more cloud, but this will have to do. So let's have a look around the rocks here and see if I can make some nice compositions with, or should I say while the sun is casting all these lovely shadows and warm light on the ground. There's also a really nice view of the surrounding tors from here and down into the Dart Valley. You've got the Sharp Tor just across the way there in the left of this picture. Well, it's warming up nicely. I don't need my gloves anymore, at least for a little while. So I've lined up that shot of the Tor here. Maybe not the greatest composition, but let's get one in the bag to start with. Always good to get started. Makes you feel better. So what am I doing? So I've just flipped the screen up a bit so we can see it. Let's get a nice depth of field, f11. Let's get rid of the auto ISO, should I say. Let's put it on ISO 100, that's the base ISO. It does go a little lower electronically. And then let's look at the exposure. I'm watching the histogram. Obviously the light's changing. My eyes are adjusting to it. And looking at this, I might just crop the bottom of the shot off. Histogram's nice and balanced. You can see the highlights from the sky and the shadows from down the bottom of the picture here. Can recover all of that. Let's put 2-second timer on. I'm on a tripod, so I've turned the steady shot off. I was on auto focus, but I'm going to use the back button to manually focus on this first Tor. Looks about the right sort of distance into the shot to get everything else into focus. Okay, let's see what that looks like. Well, good to get started and get one in the bag, but as you can see I was struggling with the foreground with this. Little bit of a space on the bottom left hand side there. Some really nice light though. Little bit of cloud in the sky just to give a little bit of interest there. Maybe could have moved the Tor further down in the shot, given it a bit more sky, got rid of the little bit of that foreground. I really like this little outcrop here, this rock on the left of my shot here. Still a little bit in shadow, but plenty of light on the side. What I'm trying to do is use some of the rocks that are in the grass here to sort of make a line up to it and then up to the other one. I'll film a bit in the back of camera so you can see. I have had to bring the camera back a bit just to film this, just because of the different aspect ratio when filming. But you can see that leading line, the zigzag or S-curve up to the rock. Let's take the camera off the tripod for a second, just make sure there's not a better shot. Difficult to move around on a tripod obviously, so you're much better hand holding the shot first, find the composition, then set the tripod up in the position you want. Of course, there's quite a lot of light, so I could hand hold a lot of these shots. Although at the moment I'm down to 1/25 of a second. Not going to try and handhold that. Do like these rocks, but I'm not sure whether I've got the this main subject in the right place in the frame. Well, that's better. Getting lower, make more of a feature of this sort of leading rock here that snakes up with those little humps. And it just makes a nice zigzag up to that tor. And I've now put it on the left-hand side of the shot. Now the sun is getting higher. I can see some highlights. Well, in the end, I didn't have to blend any images together. This is just one exposure. And getting down lower did help with that leading line. Again, a little bit of cloud in the sky to give some interest, but I'm not really happy with this composition. I like that foreground with the light shining in from the right, but I'm not happy with the tor itself in the background. Let's keep looking, shall we? There's a picture here that I really like, but not sure if this is a photograph or a decent composition. On the hill in the distance there are two Bronze Age cairns, and then you have the farm walls on the hillside below them, and then the tor in that mid-ground. And I just like the comparison with all the different ages, really. As I say, I'm not sure whether it makes a composition, but as a record shot, something of history, I quite like it. So probably crop the top and bottom of this shot. Let's focus in on that tor that's just on that little ridge, because I think, as I said, the foreground I'm going to crop out. So, oops, let's make sure I've got the 2-second timer on. There we go. Just going to give it a little moment. There's some shadow on the top of that hill opposite. So let's just give it a couple of moments. There's some clouds starting to come and go. Well, as I thought, looks much better as a panorama. I've just cropped off some of the sky and that empty foreground, and that really concentrates the eye on the tor, and then your eyes follow that stone wall into the distance. You can just make out the two Bronze Age cairns on the hill opposite. So I've come across to these two Bronze Age cairns. This one in front of me and another one just over there. But they are very difficult to photograph. They're very large, so I can't get above them. They're the highest thing in the landscape. And I could just take a shot of the rocks, I guess. But I thought I'd try some foreground interest here just to lead up to the first cairn here. And I have Corndon Tor over in the distance there. So again, hopefully making some sort of leading line. Still some light. The sun is coming up and is very bright, but it's still quite low. Big shadow behind this first rock here though, which I don't like, so that's why I've come round to the left a bit to try and hide some of the shadow. Right, similar settings, ISO 100. I'm going for F13 this time, and kind of focus in firstly on this rock in the foreground, and then let's go a bit further into the shot, maybe about a heather a bit further along, and then the Tor itself. Now this may not be necessary, might be able to get this all in one shot. What I mean is everything in focus in one shot. Let's try that. So I'm going to focus in about 4 or 5 meters into the shot. I think the sort of back end of this boulder. Let's see what that gives me. And of course I can check it on the back of the camera, not like my film camera that I've been experimenting with, if you've been following me. Yeah, that's acceptable, as they would say. Okay, let's see if there's another angle on this that I can find. Well, this shot was just all about that Bronze Age cairn, really, and just using something to lead your eye to it. The moorland looks quite barren, but the colours were really nice, and with that sun still being low in the sky, did give it some interest. But I am glad I cut out that dark shadow on the right hand side. So these are a couple of quite sizable piles of rock. They're about, or believed to be, 1500 BC, and there would have been a Bronze Age settlement here. Still lots of farms down in the valleys, just off the top of the hill here, but this is mostly now peat and heather. Now I think there might be a shot from on top of the cairn, but I'm not going up there for two reasons. One, I don't want to disturb the archaeology, but also I don't want to break my leg. So I've opted for a shot this way, trying to get both cairns in the image. Let me show you. So what I've decided to do is put the large foreground cairn on the edge of the shot here, with the other one out there in the distance, and there's the ridge line of Tor, which is about there in the distance. It's quite hazy now between here and the furthest ridge, which adds a bit of separation, I guess. Now I'm not sure whether this is going to work. There's a bit more cloud in the sky, gives a little bit more interest. Anyway, I've focused in on the rocks on the left hand side of the shot, F13. I've gone down to ISO 50, which is giving me 100th of a second. Let's just check the focus again. It's shifted since I last took the shot. Yeah, just as well I did that. And there we go. Another shot, just trying to make the most of this landscape. These cairns were quite impressive, and again the colours are nice. Trying to make a composition of them was really difficult. Obviously you've got this huge pile on the left hand side which dominates this photo, but I'm hoping it's balanced by that light on the right hand side. Okay, I think I'm going to have a short walk over to the other cairn, and as I was walking up I saw a lone tree down the slope, so I'm going to have a go at photographing that, or at least go and have a look. It's in the opposite direction to the car, but got all morning, so let's go and have a look. Well, there's the tree. Really nice subject. Nice trunk, a little bit twisted. The branches all reaching over to this side, but I'm losing the light. The clouds, there's some high level cloud now that the sun's gone into, so it's just not giving me any light. So I'm going to see if I can get down and walk around the tree, take the camera off the tripod, and let's see what we can find, shall we? I've been all the way around the tree now, and I think I've taken shots from nearly every angle. And what's really nice about this is not just the shape of the tree, but the collection of boulders and rocks below it. I've been trying to separate the tree from the background, so obviously trying to keep it above the horizon, and use the rocks in the foreground here as a leading line. Now, problem is, if I get down too far, the rocks don't look how I want them to look. But then if I get up high, use the rocks as that leading line, then the tree sinks into the horizon and gets cut off halfway. So, a bit of a compromise, and I might take several shots, but I have resorted to the tripod now just to really refine the shot. I could do it handheld, but it's just making me slow down a bit, think more carefully about the photograph. What I did notice, if I get too low, this boulder on the right, the top of it sticks above the horizon, and yeah, really distracting. Let me show you in the back of the camera what I'm doing. So similar settings, ISO 100, f13, and I'll start by focusing in on the rock about 4 or 5 meters away from me. Take the shot, and then let's go a bit further into the shot, but just make sure that tree is in focus, which it isn't. Let's get it right. Really difficult. Let's get a little bit closer. That's the best I'm going to do. Well, apologies for the non-photographers among you. I'm finally going to show you the photograph. I was faffing around quite a lot walking around this tree. It was such a nice looking subject, but trying to find a decent composition was really difficult. These rocks in the foreground are a nice foreground, but don't really give that leading line to the tree. This one worked better from above, looking down the valley. At least the rocks on the right hand side lead towards the tree. And there was some nice light behind, but don't really know if I've captured it. Really difficult shooting into the sun really like this. Makes a nice silhouette, but I wanted some detail in the foreground as well. Well, I think that's enough photos of this tree. I think I'm going to wander back to the car for a coffee, past the other tor and the cross we passed. I think there's some stone rows and hut circles around as well. Don't know if I'll take any photos of those, but let's go and explore anyway. So I knew this was happening. I've stopped on the way back to the car for just one more shot. I'm back to this wall and the cairns in the background, but this time with some better foreground What's making the shot though is if I can get the sunlight on this rock in the foreground and the shadow of the clouds as they go across the moorland behind and making some nice shapes. So without that it looks pretty bland, so let's just wait and see what develops. Of course, as soon as I want to take some photographs, the cloud's going. Oh, hold on, there's something developing. Let's stop filming and start taking photographs. So a very similar image to the one I took on the way to the cairns in the first place. Again, coming back, I was looking at that stone wall snaking its way up the hillside and using Corndon Tor as some foreground interest. But the sun was higher in the sky, as you can see, and I don't think this looks as good in colour. So I took a leaf out of Josephine Collingwood's book and turned it into a black and white image. Now with the contrast this works quite well, and with the dark blue sky I've been able to highlight the clouds and make the shot more dramatic. In colour it looked a little bit washed out. So before I get back to the car, I'll just show you a couple more images that I took in black and white. This one of Corndon Tor looking towards Yar Tor. Again, really nice in black and white, some nice contrast. The sun's shining onto the side of the Tor. And then that again, that dark blue sky in black and white. You can really take the exposure down on that. And the Cave Penny Memorial, as I passed that, the clouds were coming past quite quickly, so I couldn't resist a long exposure shot. This is at 30 seconds with a 10 stop ND filter on. As you can see, very quickly you can make a very dramatic looking shot. Okay, time for a coffee, I think. That's better. Oh, when I got back to the car I was quite warm. Took the jacket and the hat off, but they're back on now. There's still a keen, cool breeze. As I was coming back across the more through the heather, notice there's an awful lot of ground nesting birds this time of year. So I'm going to put the 7350mm lens on, or at least take it with me, and see if I can get any shots. As I walked down from the cross I did see a large bird swooping down onto one of the lone trees over there. Looked like a buzzard. It was in the distance and quite low, so I couldn't see the silhouette, but yeah, you'd expect that to be around, especially with all these nesting birds, I guess. Anyway, there's some interesting stones over there which I'm going to have a look at. I don't know if they're just gateposts or anything more spectacular. But we'll have a look at those, and I'll also look at my map to see how close this stone row is, whether it's worth visiting. And I know there's some hut circles here, but they're quite buried in the heather, so let's see what we find anyway, shall we? Well, I was lucky enough to see a whole flock of golden plover and these meadow pipits. Now, those of you who follow me know I'm not a birder, so I'm not sure about some of my identification, so I used the Dartmoor Facebook groups to help me with the identification, so thank you very much. But really pleased with this shot. The birds sitting on the top of the gorse in the sunlight. And as for the golden plover, well, they were taking off as they were being spooked by a buzzard that was flying over, and they'd fly up and then land down in the gorse. I was lucky enough with the 350mm lens to get close enough to take a few images. Really difficult to focus though, in amongst the gorse. Well, it is extremely windy where I'm just standing. I'm looking down towards Dartmoor, across to Tombstone and up to Riders Hill. What a view! Well, yes, it's very windy up here, but I've just spotted something I've got to go and have a look at. There's a lone tree, let me show you, about there. Let's go and have a look at that. Well, as you can see, there's the shot right there. All I need to do is wait for the right light, maybe when full sun on it. Okay, let's get the camera set up. So this time I've pushed the boat out and I've put a polarizer on, and that really is making the blues in the sky much darker. Settings wise, back to the usual 100 ISO, f11, 50th of a second. The polarizer, as you can see, is really doing wonders with the sky. Now I need to make the most of those clouds as well, so let's see how we get on, shall we? Well, as with the previous Moorland shots, with the bright sunlight now, the black and white images work best, and especially with the tree stripped bare against the sky. And I was picking my moments as the clouds went by, trying to silhouette the tree against the background. Same with this one, you can see the dark blue sky, and I was waiting for the clouds to surround the branches of the tree. Fortunately they were moving quite quickly, it was quite windy, so a nice simple shot at a 16mm f11, ISO 100 and 1/50th of a second. Well, I've just come out of the wind, popped over the top of the Tor. You can tell by the shape of that tree that that's the windy side of the Tor. Prevailing wind must come from there. But I think I'm going to call it a day now. If you are interested in what I've been filming on, you're watching me now on my Sony A6600 with a 16 to 55mm Sony lens on, and I've attached a DJI wireless microphone which I'm wearing so you can hear me. And then when I'm filming that camera, I'm using a DJI Pocket 2 again with its own wireless microphone. Anyway, hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. It doesn't cost anything. And I'll see you all again soon. But for now, cheerio.